Thank you, Jeremy. And welcome to everyone. Let me just start right ahead with the Essential Sound panel. So I'm going to share my Adobe Premiere Pro. You should be seeing it right now. And just before we go on, if you guys have any questions, type it in the Q&A. And I can't quite see the Q&A when I'm presenting because my Premiere is taking over the whole screen. But Jeremy will read the question for me. So, Anyway, let's just get started here. Premiere Pro, I am in an audio workspace. And I find this workspace to be a little bit convoluted, so I don't like it. Instead, I'm going to go to the editing workspace, and I'm going to open some panels that I usually have open. So I'm just going to go to Window, Essential Graphics. I know this is not about graphics, this is about sound. And the Essential Graphics open up, and now I'm going to go Window, Essential Sound, Window, Lumetri Color, and Window, Lumetri Scopes. And what you are seeing here is very close to my real workspace. I just get rid of a couple more things, but neither here nor there. So if you want to save that workspace, you can just go Window, Workspaces, save as a new workspace, and I'm going to call it Luisa New for Sound, for example. And that way, if I want to have access to anything else, I have it easily accessible to me in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on the Essential Sound. I'm going to move this thing out of the way, and now we're going to get to work. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to play the timeline a little bit. I just have here some audio levels, and you can see by the waveforms that some of these are much louder than the others. So if we just play it, say from here, it doesn't really matter.
Mapping is Mid-Atlantic drone specialty.
Let me make this a little
Our pilots have been flying construction sites for many years.
You can see the
we
levels
understand the needs of our clients
are changing, constantly changing. And in case you didn't know, you can right-click here and you can show static peaks. This is what that means. When you play, do you see that yellow line?
And what they require from our...
If I pause, the lines disappear. And if I don't pause, they stay on the yellow lines for like 3 seconds. I don't want that. I want for the highest level to stay on. And that's what static peaks does. So right now, the default is dynamic peaks. I'm going to change it to statics. And look at this.
Why choose Mid-Atlantic?
If I pause or whatever, those lines are there. And now I have a much better idea of what my audio levels are. In addition to that, I can show valleys. The valleys are going to show as a blue line. And what this is showing me is the peaks, so the highest, and also it's going to show me the lowest. And this is what it looks like.
Because Mid-Atlantic Drones has extensive experience flying.
So now I can get a much better idea of the dynamic range that I have in my audio. And this is super important because obviously for a commercial, for rock music, for a ton of other things, I want for that dynamic range to be narrow. But for other things, say for classical music, for jazz, for a movie, I want it to be really wide so that the lows are very, very low, but the highs are like, high. So one of the things that we can do, and this is not necessarily part of the Essential Sound, but you should do it anyway. You can select any of these guys and you can press the letter G for gain. And then the audio gain panel opens up. You can just say, hey, adjust the gain by, whatever up, by whatever down. Notice that it has the peak amplitude right here. It's minus 12.2. Let me just let me cancel out of here. I'm going to put the playhead on top of it. Press G again. See, it's minus 12.2 dB. So if I want to go up, that gives me a very, very good idea of how much to go up, depending on where I want for the peak to be. Now, if I don't want to bother with any of those things, I can just say, hey, you know what? Normalize it. Just normalize the max peak to whatever. This is a voiceover, so maybe I want to do a -5 or a -6, and it's going to do it perfectly well. But if I want to save even more time, I can cancel out of this. I can select all of the waveforms. So just a Control-A, Command-A on the Mac. It's going to do it for me. So press G, and now everything is going to be affected. But there are two settings here. One that says normalize max peak 2 and one that says normalize all peaks 2. So people get a little bit confused about those. There's nothing to get confused. Let me just choose this one, normalize max peak 2. When I click OK, look how now the little badge turned yellow, meaning, hey, you have adjusted the audio. And the waveforms are still all over the place. Like if I zoom in, see how this one is much higher than this one, and I can move, see this one is like super low, and it's like, oh, what's going on here? That is because Premiere treated all of these different clips like if they were one, and it normalized the max peak to that highest level of all of them, like if it were one. That's not what I want. So let's undo that. Control Z is your friend. Command Z on the Mac. G. Now I'm going to go normalize all peaks 2. And now I'm going to say, hey, -5, whatever, right? Look at the waveforms now. Boom. And that saves a ton of time. A ton of time. So generally speaking, before I even start processing my audio, I'm going to do this. Having said that, because this is a session about the Essential Sound Panel, I'm going to work only on the Essential Sound Panel from here on. Well, with a couple of exceptions. I'm going to open this other sequence that I have here. And now I am going to change the audio tab.
Got a question, Luisa. Sorry to interrupt.
Please.
Yeah, it says, Luisa, would you recommend Essential Sound Panel over Audio Track Mixer? Normally, I would apply effects like denoise or multiband compressor onto an audio track and audio track mixer, but it seems like Essential Sound Panel can do it too, and simpler in some cases.
It can absolutely do it as well. It can do it simpler. It's just easier. Having said that, I love using the mixer. I use it all the time. I mean, I'm in Audition, I would say every day, because I record my music with Audition and then I process everything in Audition. And I am a great proponent of putting track effects and also doing sends and adding effects to the sends. So you gotta go with whatever is most convenient for you. Having said that, every time you use the Essential Sound Panel, you are in fact adding an effect. It's not like the Essential Sound Panel does it through magic, although it seems like it does sometimes, but it's adding an effect. The difference is that this is a clip effect and not a track effect. So it's a very good question. And in essence, the Essential Sound Panel is going to be easier, but I also use the track mixer for effects. So I don't know, was that vague enough? All right, so I'm going to continue. And what I've done here is that I have separated my audio into music. So I even named the track music. There's another one called sound effects, nat sound, and voiceover. I'm going to, this is just for convenience, right? I'm going to select all of the clips on the voiceover track, and I'm going to tell Premiere, hey, Premiere, this is a voiceover. In other words, dialogue. Anything that is not background, conversations or whatever, anything that is the main voice, spoken voice, it's going to be dialogue. So I'm going to set that as dialogue. And now all of the options that apply to dialogue will be right there with one added little bonus here. And I know we talked already about normalizing and all of that, but look at this. You can click on the button called Auto Match. Boom, and it's going to adjust the audio to a loudness of -23 lufs, which is appropriate for broadcast. I absolutely love it because this, when you just tag it and you do the auto match, it's already doing a premix for you. I'm going to do the same with an nat sound. I'm going to select all of these here and I'm going to say, oh, you guys are ambience. And same thing, see under loudness here, auto match. And this is ambience, so it's going to target the loudness to -30 LUFS. So you see how it's already mixing this for us? Look at the sound effects. So I have this sound effects in here, and I get it. I haven't played it for you, but that's okay, because you know, if I play it for you, which I will, but this is just for this particular mix. And this is not something that I even do, in other words, play it before I do this tagging and this auto match. So I selected the sound effects. Here we go, SFX and loudness, auto match. This is going to be now a little bit louder. It's going to be minus 21 LUFS. And finally, music, selected, tell the essential sound panel that is music, go to loudness, auto match, and now it's minus 25 LUFS. Without doing any mixing, other than I did lower the music here a little. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get rid of those. Yeah, let's get rid of those keyframes. Yeah, and now I'm going to get rid of that transparency grid too. I'm just going to play it. So remember, this has not been mixed. Let me make sure. I'm going to reset this, and there you go.
Construction drone mapping is Mid-Atlantic Drone's specialty. Our pilots have been flying construction sites for many years. We understand the needs of our clients and what they require from our services.
We still need to do some work in the mixing, but the pre-mix here, I absolutely love it. All right, the next thing that I want to talk about is presets. So if I select all of the voiceover, right, I can just come here and look at all the presets that are available here. Background, balance, female voice, male voice. And all this does is that it changes some of the settings for you. And say I want to do a balance.
Another question, voice. Luisa. Sorry to interrupt.
Please. No,
says, Luisa, is there any way to auto match EQ settings between separate clips without a separate plugin, i.e. matching indoor recorded voice with voiceover recorded indoors?
That is a very good question. And the answer is not yet. Yeah, you can't auto match it like that, not yet. So what you do is you save the presets and then you apply the presets to the necessary clips. But that would be nice. That would be really, really nice if it did it automatically, kind of like a color matching, but for audio. Unfortunately, not yet. It's a very good question. All righty, I'm going to change this to a balanced male voice. And now I'm just going to solo this, and this is what we have.
Why choose Mid-Atlantic Drones? Because Mid-Atlantic Drones' extensive experience flying.
Now I'm going to change this, say, from the radio. So all of these are the presets that are already built in.
And construction sites gives it superior expertise and knowledge of action.
Yeah, I don't like that. Okay, so I'm just going to get rid of that. But it's not bad. It's not bad at all. And you can make these presets. Say you always record the same thing in the same location, in the same room, acoustically speaking. You can just make presets. For example, I have presets for my own voice. So I do my LinkedIn and some Adobe recordings. I do it right here. And I already have presets on how to process my own voice because, you know, the room doesn't change, the equipment doesn't change. So, you know. All righty. Let's see. Let's go to repair. I'm just going to go here and I'm going to talk a little bit about repairing the audio. On purpose, I got rid of the video on this one because I didn't want us to be distracted by video. Instead, I actually separated these into this is noise. So notice that I put my timeline markers here, my sequence markers, and then this is rumble, this is hum, this is sibilance, you know, I have then the reverb. I'm going to clear this in and out. And here we go. I'm going to mark this clip. X marks the spot, and I am going to loop it. So this is important. And yeah, there are shortcuts for looping and blah, 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 but I'm just going to show you the button editor because if you don't know it, it's so convenient and so easy, right? So see this little plus sign here? It's the button editor. I am in the program panel. So click on here. This is the loop button, loop playback. I can drag this button here, see it? And now I can click OK. And blue just means that it's highlighted. And now when I play, it's going to loop. All right. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to change the tag of all of these. So Control A to dialogue. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm sorry, I closed it. Is auto match it. There you go. Automatically, it's going to target to minus 23 loops. And now notice that I have a section for repair. This is how I recommend that you do this. It's so easy, it's not even funny. Turn it on. Lower this all the way to the left, so no effect. So the effect is on, but you're doing none of the sense. So it's basically not affecting anything. And now play your audio. So this is, of course, coming to you through Zoom and blah, blah, blah. So you and I are not quite going to hear the same thing. Not only that, but it's a presentation. So this is what I recommend. Wear good headphones or have good, really good monitor speakers, which I have right here. I actually have two really good JBLs, and they're positioned correctly and blah, blah, blah. And as you play, slowly move the slider up. And as soon as you hear the noise go away, stop. Just don't keep on going to the right. If you're going to err on the side of something, err on the side of leaving some noise rather than apply too much noise reduction, because this is introducing some aliasing frequencies that you really don't want in there. All right, so here we go. Play it.
Our pilots have been flying construction sites for many years.
Slowly move this.
We understand the needs of our clients and what they require from our services.
And once
Why
it's
choose
gone,
Mid-Atlantic?
Stop. So what is really happening here? I think I was, let me undo all of that because I think I was affecting everyone. I think I stopped it somewhere around here. Doesn't really matter. This is what I want to show you. It's applying a denoise effect. And right here in the essential sound panel, I only have a slider. But in here, if I click on edit, I have more options. I can change the processing focus. I can change the amount. That's what the slider is doing. And I even have preset that I can use. So remember, the essential sound panel is not just doing it, hidden. It's actually putting an effect in here that you can go and adjust if you need to. And it works so well. I mean, seriously, I used to tell people, no, don't do any kind of audio cleanup in Premiere. You got to go to Audition and do it there. That's no longer true. All right, let's go to Rumble. So X marks the spot is still looping. And yeah, I added it to everyone. Now, what's the difference between noise and rumble? And by the way, you know how to clean with one, you know how to clean them with all of them. It's all the same thing. Turn it on, move it to the left, move the slider to the left. As you play it and you're listening, once the rumble disappears, leave it there. That's it, you're done. Could not be any easier. So what's the difference between noise and rumble? Well, frequency. Noise is higher frequency than rumble. Rumble is like lower. It's at the end of the day, it's the same thing. All right, so play it.
If you are using a 3-button mouse, you can right-click to orbit. Use the scroll wheel to zoom and press pan. Using a 3-button mouse, you can right-click to orbit.
I'm gonna go a little bit more.
Use the scroll wheel to zoom and press pan.
In fact, I'm gonna just loop the noise right there. You can even see it, right? Oh, I'm like, why is it not working? I mean, seriously. I'm playing it, I'm adjusting it, it's not working. And it's because I have the other one selected. And it's not even that early in the day. It's 11:20 for me. All right, let's do this again. Reduce rumble, and here we go. Let me just play it. You're gonna see how this is actually, because you might not be able to, it's diminishing. Oh yeah, that's not bad at all. And now,
if you are using a 3-button mouse, you can right-click to use the scroll wheel.
Very easy. Turn it on, move the slider. All right, let me go to the next one, which is hum, right? I won't make the same mistake. I think I'm just going to click on it. All right, here we go, the hum. So what is a hum? A hum, you can call that a ground noise. And that just means that somewhere in your recording process, there was an audio wire that wasn't grounded properly. So this has to do with the electricity that we use in our countries. Like if you are in Europe, it's going to be different than if you're in the US. So Europe and Asia. So in the US, we have an electricity of 60 hertz, right? 120. In Europe is 50. So this is in the US, so 60 hertz. That's why that's marked in there. Same thing, turn it on and bring it all the way to the left. Play it.
3D Unique is the ability to change the view and look at your content from any angle. One of the things that makes working in 3D unique is the ability to change the view and look at your content.
And voila, it's done. And again, look what it's putting in here. It's adding a de-hummer. And if you need to come in here, you can always edit it. See how it's doing the main frequency and then the harmonics? This is kind of important because most of the sounds, if not all, produce these harmonics when you hear them. And that's also known as overtones. And it's, you know, an octave above it and then a fifth, et cetera, et cetera. And you want to get rid of those as well. So this is a really, really good effect to use. All right, let's go to sibilance. Sibilance. For this, we're going to use a de-esser. De-esser. So a sibilance is what gets recorded. And it's a combination of bad mic placement and or quality of the voice. It's like, you know, you can hear it in some people a heck of a lot more. And that's just those SS that sound. And to me, there's, oh my God, it's like if somebody were scratching a blackboard or something. It's like, gives me the willies. Anyway, same thing. Select the clip. Don't do what I did. Click on the de-esser, put this all the way to the left, play it.
For Alaska coastal town, one that has been visited by many since it is port of call for many
to the right until the S's disappear. If you need to adjust, go here to the Effect Controls panel, click on Edit, and now, do you see how we have presets? We have presets. High voice de-esser, low voice de-esser. It's not just the SS, but the sh, and you can add one or the other. You can also make this more narrow. You can make it
every year.
You see, you can.
Seward is a beautiful Alaska coastal town,
and then you can
one
just
that has been
dial it in
many
and get rid of it.
Port of call
And do you see that red there? Every time that it's being triggered, you see it in
Seward
red.
Is a beautiful
Of
Alaska
course, if you change the threshold
one that has been
lower,
by many
it gets triggered
since
more
it is
and
port
more.
of call for many cruise ships every
You
year.
also have the opportunity here to output the sibilance only.
Is a beautiful
I know, it's annoying. I'm going to stop it. All right. And finally, oh, by the way, I didn't show you this. Do you see that little like warning triangle-y yellow thingy? That means, hey, yes, you adjusted it here in the Essential Sound panel, but then you changed something not in the Essential Sound panel, which is okay, but just be aware that you've done that, and that's what that means. All right? Okay, so let's do the reverb thing. X marks the spot. Make sure that you select it. And here we go. Same thing. Reduce reverb, turn it on, all the way to the left.
With drone and business liability. We are fully insured with drone and business liability. We are fully insured with drone and business liability. We are fully insured.
As usual, the reverb is here. You can click on edit. You can change it. There are presets, blah, blah, blah. So not too bad. By the way, I almost never have to go here. I do sometimes, but almost never go here and change anything in here. All right, because the slider alone, this is really all I need to do. All righty, let's go to clarity and creative. So that's this here. I'm going to select it, tell this that is dialogue. I'm not going to go to repair, but I'm going to go to clarity. The first thing is dynamics. If I turn it on, see dynamics processing in here for left and right, out left and right. I can change the channel map. I can adjust individual parameters. I can click on edit, which opens this. I can use any of these presets. I'm not going to do any of that. I'm just simply going to play this. And as it plays, I'm going to move this. I can always reanalyze it. It's a very short clip, and it just does it pretty quickly.
Measurements, vector overlays, contours, thermal inspections, and much more.
I can actually do dynamics processing that will increase the clarity of my voice. And let's look at some of the presets that we have here. Look at this, de-esser hard. Yes, there is a de-esser. Look at that knee. There is smooth vocal, rock, rap presence, or vocal limiter. I love that. Voiceover is pretty good.
There's most locations in Maryland, Washington, D.C., and Virginia.
Anyway, now I'm going to go into the creative section. No, I'm sorry, the EQ. Look at the EQ, which brings a graphic equalizer of 10 bands in here. This is important now because depending on which one of these you choose, is going to change how the slider changes things. So, on the radio, it's going to be different than, say, a vocal presence. And look what is happening to the EQ curve here. See, if it's nothing, it's completely flat. And then as you bring it up, it's giving you more and more of that equalizing. So as you play it,
we are fully insured with drone and business liability.
All right. And I recommend that you add these effects in the order in which they are presented to you. So, loudness, repair, clarity, etc., etc. So, again, you have these presets. You have some presets here. Look what happens when you go here. You have those presets in here. All right. So now I'm going to get rid of the EQ. No, I'm not going to get rid of the EQ. I'm going to talk about enhanced speech. Look what happens when I turn this on. I get a vocal enhancer effect for a high tone or a low tone, usually, not always, a female voice and a male voice. And same thing. There's not much for you to do. This is either turned on or off. So
construction and other high activity environments. Contact us today for.
And there you go. All righty. The last thing on this one is going to be creative, in which you just add some reverb. So we saw before that you could take the reverb away. This actually adds it. So adding reverb is a heck of a lot easier. And the effect that is added is a studio reverb in here. And there are some presets, and then you can change the amount. Now, before I go on, there's a lot of, and I'm not saying you guys personally, because quite frankly, I don't even know who's here. But in my classes, I find that people are a little bit confused about how to use and when to use reverb. We use reverb to put people in the same room acoustically. That's what we do. Like if we are interviewing 10 different people, it can't just be one person with a heck of a lot more reverb than the next person, They all should sound, this is just for the listener's sanity, they all should kind of sort of sound like they are in the same room. And we accomplish that by adding, and of course, taking away reverb. So this is very easy. Basically, you have it in here. We can add a large reflective room,
thermal inspections, and much more.
Thick and void.
Mid-Atlantic, Washington, D.C., and Virginia insurance.
I always recommend that you start with a slider all the way to the left and then slowly move it up. All right. Let's go to the next one, duration. So you can just see it, that this music is a little bit longer than the video. And I gotta tell you, being a musician, a lot of the ways that these programs have to do this is just not the best for me. So let me just show you this. You can tag this as music, and let's do an auto match, and then you can change the duration to whatever. But let me just play this. It's got to render it. Come on, you can do it. Okay, let me cancel it. Oh, you move to something else. There you go. It's going at a certain speed, it's in a certain key, right? If I want to change this to be more or to be less, say I want it to be longer, it's, well, first of all, it's got to render, it's got to create a new file. Slightly slower. So this is coming in a newer version of Premiere, but you can just right-click this and edit in Adobe Audition. And I'm going to just do it because I really want to show you this. This is kind of important. And I get it. This is not the essential sound. But remember, this is coming into the essential sound panel. So I'm just going to show you how to do it in here and how it works. And then eventually it's going to come into Premiere Pro. You won't have to go to Audition. So Audition is doing, Premiere is doing a render and replace. And it's going to open this automatically on Audition. And the reason why it does that is because things in Audition are destructive. In other words, once I save this, I'm saving the original file. It's the difference between a filter and an effect. This would be a filter, meaning that once you save it, that's it. You can't take it off. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to insert this into a new multi-track section. It doesn't really matter what I call it. I'm just going to leave the default. And this is what I have. Now I can right click it and choose Remix, Enable, Remix. And what's happening now is that Audition, and remember, eventually Premiere, is analyzing this. It's actually breaking it down into the beats and the bars, and it's doing so intelligently, even with chord progressions. And let's just say I want this to be 1 minute and 20 seconds. Do you see when I position my mouse cursor here that it actually even gives me a tooltip that says remix? I can click and drag, and now it's going to do the calculations for me. And you can see where it did the edit points in.
Luisa?
Yeah.
Sounds like they can't see what you're editing on the other program, the Audition window.
But of course not. There you go. How about now?
There you go. Thanks.
There you go. Okay. So just going back, this is what I did. Right click, remix, enable remix, right? And then I put my mouse cursor here at the end. And when it looks like yay and it says remix, just click and drag and make your track, your clip, as long as you want it to. And it's going to show you the edit points here. And this is flawless. It's absolutely flawless. It keeps the key, it keeps the beat, it keeps the speed, and you can pretty much have your music be whatever length you need it to be. This is like unbeatable. Anyway, once you are happy with it, you can now export this. So file, export, multi-track mix down, entire session. I'm just gonna call it, I'm gonna go to my desktop. Where is it? Right here. I'll call it test. Click on save, click OK. We're gonna go back into Premiere and I can import it. Let's see, I named it. No, that's Beast. That's not what I want. I want this. I named it test. And there it is. I can delete this and I can add my new audio. And of course, I made it a little too short, but that's neither here nor there. Remember, this and how to do it is coming into Premiere Pro, and it's going to be part of the Essential Sound panel right in here. It's going to be right with duration. There's going to be a little thingy saying remix. All right, so pretty cool. All righty, let's talk about ducking. We do this all the time. So let me just play this a little bit. You have music, and then you have a voiceover, right?
Construction drone.
I mean, when the voice starts, I want for the music to come down. I mean, it's that simple. Okay. I can select all of my voiceover and I can go, you are dialogue. I can do all my cleanup, presets, whatever. Now I select the music and I say, okay, you are music. Okay, now everybody knows what role they are playing, and it's called a tag. And now I'm talking to the music now and say, hey, music, I need you to duck. Boom. Against what? Well, against dialogue, but it could be against other music. It could be against sound effects, whatever. In other words, when you hear dialogue, come now. I'm going to leave the defaults here, and I'm just going to say, hey, generate keyframes. Done. That's it. It did all my keyframes for me. Now, let's play this a little bit.
Construction drone map. Mid-Atlantic.
Oh, so much better, right? And so easy, right? And I left all of the defaults here. I can now say, hey, you know what? Nah, I think you need to duck even more. Oh, okay. So I can change the duck amount here. I can go, hey, duck a heck of a lot more. Give me longer fades too, right? Because it defaults to 800 milliseconds, right? So maybe I want a little bit over 1 second. And I want this to be, a heck of a lot more sensitive, right? So that is looking really at the level of audio from the voiceover. In this case, it doesn't matter because I actually cut the clips. And now I can generate the keyframes again, and you're going to see that the levels are going to come down quite a bit more.
Construction drone mapping is
much more better. And it can even be, hey, you know what? I need to move these. Move them, right? Talk to the music again and go, hey, generate keyframes. And that's it. It generates the keyframes, and you don't have to go in there, one by one and move them. It's so much easier. I'm just saying. So this used to be a fairly easy thing to do, but not this easy. This is literally one click and you're done. All right, so ducking. Let's talk about pan. So this is set to sound effects. And if you play this, we hear that it's just the sound of a drone, right? But right now it's centered. In other words, it's coming from both speakers, coming from the middle. If my drone is on the left side of the screen, the sound effect should come from the left side of the screen. And that's what panning is doing. I can put it all the way left. It's only coming now from the left side. I can put it all the way to the right. Now it's coming only from the right-hand side. Or I'm being, absolute. It doesn't have to be either or. It can come more from the left and from the right. And now what people are watching is matching what they are hearing. So very, very easy, and it's completely built in. All right. This one is for ambience, and it has to do with stereo width. This is going to be, when I taught this for LinkedIn, I actually I brought it into Audition, because without having a scope to see this with, it's kind of hard to hear it, especially over the net. But what this is doing is separating the left and the right more. That's what it's doing. And like I said, you might not be able to hear this like here and now, but when you do this on your own, you will be able to hear it. You will be able to hear it. So my clip is selected, stereo width, and but if you open this in Audition, you will see it with the scopes. And if you're wearing headphones and all of that, you will definitely hear it. All right, so I have like 10 minutes left. I want to go through the multiband compressor. And let's just imagine for a second that I applied all of that to this. It's dialogue. I cleaned it. I did the auto match. I did the repair. I reduced the rumble. I dehummed it. I reduced the reverb. I did all of that, right? Including EQ. And I know I'm not really doing anything. I'm just turning stuff on, right? And I'm going to enhance that speech and blah, blah, blah. There are some things that I like to do before delivering. And one of them is definitely a multiband compressor. So I'm actually going to do an IO here. And again, it's set to loop. And I'm going to add to this clip the multiband compressor. So look at all the effects are here. So, you know, including a graphic equalizer. I'm going to go to effects and I'm going to just type multi, and here we go. Under audio effects, amplitude and compression, I have a multiband compressor and I can add it here. You could add it to the track mixer instead. So let me just show you really quickly how to do that. And we can just go to Window, Audio Track Mixer. And this is the voiceover track, which is this guy. This, see this little triangle thingy? It opens and closes, so it expands and collapses this effects area. And if you want to add the same effect to the track, which will affect all the clips in there, you can do it from here. See it? Done. Just for now, I'm not going to add it to the track. I'm going to leave it here, and I'm going to go to my Effect Controls panel, and I'm just going to click on Edit. This is how the multiband compressor works. It divides your audio into frequencies. You have 4 distinct range of frequencies: your low frequencies, your mid-low, mid-high, and high. And in here, you have the settings for each one of those bands of frequencies, right? So you have two, the first thing that you have is the threshold. In other words, what level audio will trigger the compressor to occur when it plays. The lower you put this, the more it will trigger it. Like, for example, if you leave the threshold at 0, it will never get
sites for
triggered.
many years. We understand the needs of our clients
But
and
if
what they
you
require
start
from our
lowering
services.
this,
Why choose Mid-Atlantic Drones?
do you
Because
see that
Mid-Atlantic
red
Drones'
here?
extensive
That
experience
means
flying
that
construction
the
sites
compressor
gives it
is
superior
being
expertise in
triggered
Mid-Atlantic drone
at
specialty.
that
Our
level.
pilots
So
have been
I
flying
put it at
construction
minus
sites for many
58, which is ridiculous, right? Now, the next value that you have here is the gain. This is important, and you know that's why I'm spending a little bit of time doing this. And I wish it were kind of sort of part of the essential sound, but that's okay. This is a very, very powerful effect. The gain just means, hey, after we're being triggered, do you want to lower or raise what you get? I'm going to leave it at 0, and then look at the ratio 2:1. For each 2 dBs that the level is going above the ratio, is going to lower it 1. For each 2, lowers it 1. Or at 3:1, for each 3, it lowers it 1. See what I mean? Now, we have 2 more settings, one for attack, one for release. And the reason for that is because if there is no attack time or no release time, you're going to hear all kinds of popping sounds. Consider this like very fast keyframes that go from no effect to the effect. That way, acoustically speaking, we don't hear the pops. There are many presets in here that you can choose from. I like broadcast. I like internet delivery. You can kill the harshness. Yes, there is a de-esser in here. There's look how it puts this very, very narrow. And you can just narrow this even further, you know, play it so that you can see where the S's are. And then to this frequency band, just lower this tremendously so that it just kicks in like almost all
We
the
understand
time.
the needs of our clients and what they require from our services.
Making sense?
Why choose
So I can just change this and go for broadcast. And there you go.
Mid-Atlantic
That's the
Drones?
preset. See it?
Because Mid-Atlantic Drones' extensive experience flying construction sites gives it superior
like that, etc., etc. So this is not too bad. It's not too bad at all. What I recommend you do is that you find the sweet spot, how you really like for your sound to be, and then just save a preset if you must, you know. Otherwise, just use some of the ones that you have in here, and it's going to help you tremendously. And I mean tremendously. So I run a multi-band compressor in every single one, especially of my voiceovers. All right. Okay, almost there. I think I have 3 minutes. Let me just go to the loudness radar. This one is kind of important. If you are on broadcast, or even if you're not on broadcast, doesn't really matter. There is an effect called the loudness radar that will indicate to you what the whole level, so everything of your program is. So I'm going to go to my audio track mixer, and I'm going to add that effect to my master track. All right, so here we go. Click here, special loudness radar. And this is how it works. I'm going to double click it so that it opens. It's kind of small, but you'll be able to see it. And there are presets. So, you know, I can go into European Union. I'm going to leave it the default, just giving me LKFS. And there you go. I'm also going to go to the settings tab here, and I'm going to change the duration of my program
question, Luisa.
to 1 minute. Yes, go ahead.
How do you use the effects sends within Track Mixer is the question.
That's a good question. So you would have to create a send. So let me just, you know what? No, I'm going to use a different analogy. Do you guys know what an adjustment layer is? An adjustment layer is a layer whose effects affect everyone under it, right? We have them in Premiere. We certainly have them in Photoshop. So it's almost a way that you have to group effects. That's how an effects sends work. You create the send, and then you send one or more of your tracks to that send, and then you add the effects to that send. Let's put it to you this way. Maybe you have sound, not sound, and sound effects, and I want to mix, right? So right now it's going to the mix. I'm going to send this to the submix and this to the submix. But I didn't send the voiceover or the music. So now I'm going to go to the submix, and I can go, hey, you know what? I'm going to add just a ton of reverb to this just because I love reverb, and great call it is. That's how it works. Then I can now control exactly how much those two tracks together are getting. It's a way of grouping effects. All right. I'm almost out of time. I just want to talk about the loudness radar really quickly. In fact, let me just show it to you in 4 minutes. If I
activity
play
environments.
You're going to see that this is going to start drawing.
Construction drone mapping.
I'm going to go fast.
Why choose Mid-Atlantic drones?
Only because I want to see. I want to see how it draws it. And do you see, so ideally, you know, the whole thing played, and I can now see in one glance, graphically speaking, how loud my whole program is. And I can go, hey, you know what, in here, the audio dropped a little too much. Why? And then I come here and I go, oh, that's because that was the voiceover wasn't quite there. Or if it's too loud and you have to abide by broadcast standards because of the Calm Act, you know, that's the act that says that the commercials can't be that much louder than the program, blah, 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 blah. You can make sure that your program is up to snuff, that is following the standards, just by looking at the loudness radar. All right, so kind of important. All righty, so let me go ahead and stop the share here so that we can see this. It's quite all right, Mike. I'm glad you asked about that, because people get a little confused about what sends are, and it's really a way to group effects. So thank you, guys. If you have any questions, I'll be hanging around here for 2-3 more minutes, and I'd love to help you out. Otherwise, my email address, I'm going to put it on the chat here. It's just luisa@midatlanticdrones.com. And oh, look at this. It's not going. There you go. And there you go. That's my email address. Feel free to shoot me an email and let me know how you're doing. All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate you coming.
Got a question that came in here.
Yeah, please.
What level do you master audio for broadcast and internet?
That's a very good question. Broadcast different. So broadcast minus 12. Broadcast minus 12. Forget about it. Internet, depending on what it is, I go anywhere from -7 to -5. So much louder. But broadcast minus 12. Cool. Any other questions, guys?
What is your favorite way to adjust loudness in Premiere?
That's a very good question. Very, very good question. And I like the compressor, the multiband compressor. Of course, I use gain. So I actually really do it the way that I showed you guys. I do the auto match. So I do the gain and the normalization. Then I do the auto match, and that gives me almost exactly what I need. And then at the end, I do finesse it with the track mixer.